like you're supposed to have it all together, but inside you're wondering how everyone else makes it look so easy, you're not alone. This is Southern Sisters, a place for women who want to grow without the guilt, find purpose in the messy middle, and be reminded that you were made for more. Make sure you stick around. We always save the bloopers for the end. Welcome to our episode of Southern Sisters. We're so glad you're here. Thank you so much for joining us today. Okay, so we have a special guest here in our studio. I'd like to introduce you to Chrystal, and we actually are just meeting for the first time today in person, though we have followed each other on TikTok for the last year, probably.
It's been a while.
It has been a while, and we've just commented on each other's stuff, and I just was like, I think that you would be great on the podcast, and she was like, that's awesome, and then we were like, wait, we only live
4 hours apart?
Yeah, 4 hours apart. So they drove up here and I'm just blown away. Like, this is going to be such an amazing conversation just because of how everything fell exactly into place that you know it was inspired. So we are excited to have her here. Okay, before we jump in to our sister segment, I wanted to just encourage anyone who has the chance to go onto our website and sign up for our newsletter. We have a newsletter that we just send out the first of every month. It has a freebie digital download, but it's just kind of our way that we can reach you, because I feel like social media is wonderful, but you don't see everything. You miss stuff. And if Courtney were here, she would be like, you want to know when the retreat is?
Yeah, she's crazy. Jumping the gun.
Yeah, you got to plan that, Megan. No problem. Okay, sure. So you want to know when things are going on. You want to know sneak peek for the episodes. It's funny because every time I think about the newsletter, I'm like, oh, I'm going to add this to it. So it's not super long right now, but it may get longer because I'm like,
digital
these are my one thing that I'm going to add for April that wasn't on March is our Jesus jams that we usually have a playlist. I'm like,
oh, I love that.
I'm like, I'm going to add my top 3 songs that I have on repeat right now.
That's
because
awesome.
I'm like, I feel like it's important to uplift other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and
that's a great
so
idea.
many incredible artists have amazing music. So
Cool.
anyways, this is a good thing. TheSouthernSisterhood.com. I'm going to say it one more time because Mom said I said it too fast last time. So go to TheSouthernSisterhood.com and go ahead and sign up for our newsletter. We would love to hear from you. Okay, so today for our sister segment, we are going to do a rapid fire questions for Chrystal, who I want to keep calling her by her TikTok handle, which is Scrunch Life Shenanigans.
Either way.
Yeah, but that's like,
I love it.
I told my husband, he's like, who are you interviewing? I'm like, Scrunch Life.
Okay, tell us a little backstory on that.
Okay, so when I joined TikTok last summer, I was going to be nameless and faceless and just show my hands, and that was going to be it. And then it kind of went from there that the Camp Mystic flooding took place in Texas last summer, and that just hit me. And I was like, I've got to get people to pray with me about what's going on there. And so I sit there and on vacation with my family, record this little video, and it blew up to 3 million views. And so all of a sudden I'm like, well, I guess I have to show my face now.
Yeah, you do.
It's almost
That's
like in
cool.
moments like that, you're like, and God said, show your face.
Yes, sir.
Totally. We've all had those moments where you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it. Yep, that's
sure.
great.
That is
cool.
amazing. So the name came from?
I am what you would call a scrunchy mom. I am a little bit crunchy in that I make my own bread, I mill my own flour, but I also will eat you under the table with Reese's peanut butter cups.
I did not know that was what you call it. Scrunchy?
I am scrunchy.
I'm scrunchy.
Part crunchy and lots of junk food too.
Yes, that's amazing. Okay, I'm going to use that now. I'm scrunchy.
You are.
Totally.
Welcome to the family.
Thanks. I love it.
It's the Scrunchy Sister.
I'm like, not quite as crunchy.
Scrunchy Southern Sisters. That's
This is where we
like
are
a
today.
rebrand.
Yes.
Totally. I love it.
That's amazing. Okay.
That's cute.
Oh, I love it so much. Okay, so our first question, coffee, tea, or neither?
I am a coffee person 100%, all day, every day.
Awesome. Favorite scripture right now?
Ooh, that's a hard one. My kids actually recite 6 chapters of the Bible every single night, and we always start with Psalm 91. So I have been going back around Psalm 91.
Cool. I love it. Favorite hymn or worship song?
Right now, there's one that's called No One Like the Lord. That's really been in my spirit a lot lately. And then for hymns, I think you can't go wrong with It As Well.
I love it.
That's a good one.
Early morning quiet time or late night?
I tend to prefer early morning. If I wait for late night, then it doesn't happen.
True.
I will pass out. All right.
Yep.
Go to comfort meal.
The one that I could probably cook with my eyes closed would be spaghetti.
Yes. One word that describes motherhood.
Fulfilling.
A scripture that carried you through a hard season.
The one we're going to talk about today. We know that all things work together for the good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose.
Love it.
That is great. Homeschool mom or school drop-off mom
Definitely
vibes?
homeschool, 100% homeschool.
All right. Your favorite way to connect with God during a busy season?
I think just making sure to carve that time to sit and be quiet.
Which is hard to do
It's
sometimes.
very, very hard to do. And it's such a refreshing thing because you get so loud and everything else that when you just sit and listen, it fills you up.
Chrystal is a mom of 6 kids.
I am.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Okay. One chore you secretly hate.
Cleaning the bathroom.
100%. Yes.
Ditto.
One chore you secretly enjoy.
I love vacuuming because when the vacuum is on and it's loud, no one can talk to you.
Oh, that's great.
And wet vacuuming is even better because when you're steam cleaning carpets, it takes longer.
Oh, yes. So
Nobody
they
can
leave
mess
you
with
alone.
and nobody can ask you for anything.
That's awesome.
I love it. Okay.
That's a real mom answer.
Absolutely.
Is there a parenting phrase you say all the time?
Probably go outside.
Go play outside.
Go play outside.
Yes.
Very good.
Ready for warmer weather.
Favorite family tradition?
We have a notebook at Thanksgiving that we will sit and we will share about things that we're grateful for from that year. And then that leads us into Christmas, where our family, our immediate family, so my husband and the children and I, don't swap presents. We take the money that we would spend on each other and we find some way to be a blessing to someone else.
Cool.
And this year, my kids were actually old enough to be involved in that themselves. So we actually sent them with some money to be able to go and do things. And so then we sat down on Christmas Day and they were able to share, this is what we did and this is how we were a blessing. And so that's kind of my favorite thing right now.
Your notebook, do you add like every year you just add more and more and then
do.
like look back?
We do.
Oh, that's cool. I like
It's been
that.
so special because this year and a half ago, my mom passed away. And so we were able to look back on some of the things that she was grateful for.
Oh,
over the
that's
years, too.
cool. That's very cool.
Okay, I'm taking that.
Yeah.
It's so good.
So Lynn,
I'm going to
stealing
do it.
Yeah, that's
amazing.
great.
Oh, that'll be awesome. Okay. What age of motherhood have you found to be most surprising?
I think probably now in my 40s, just because I'm starting to see the fruit of some of the effort that we've put in. And these teenagers are amazing and they're responsible and they're respectful and they have great ideas and they're learning to love God themselves. And it's very sweet now. And I'm not worried as much about, am I doing it right? It's like we're actually, we're doing this.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes, this is the truth. Okay. The best parenting advice you ever received?
Insulate them from the inside. So when I had just my first child, I was really worried about letting him go away from my home and spend the night places. We're very strict on spending the night, but like letting him go with family, letting him go away from just my immediate vicinity. They talk about how being a mom is watching your heart go walking around outside of yourself.
Totally.
And so I was really concerned that first time that I let him go spend the night with grandparents, and they live 4 hours away. And so I was talking with a mentor friend, and she said, you've got to insulate your children from the inside, meaning you can't control what comes at them externally, but you can help to prepare them internally for what they're going to come and face. And so insulate them, put that word down inside of them, pray for them, cover them from the inside, let them know that you're a safe place to talk to them so that when those things come, they're ready for them because they know that you're that landing spot for them.
That's excellent.
That is excellent parenting advice. Okay. The most humbling part of motherhood?
When my children are forgiving, when I don't feel like I deserve it, when I know I have messed up and they're like, it's fine. And they just delete and move on. And things that would have laid me out personally, if somebody had done that to me, and they're just so quick to love and quick to move on, that has been really humbling for me to see.
They're incredible examples of that.
They're fantastic.
All right. What Bible woman do you relate to most?
Jail. I'm like, leave me alone in my tent. Let me make my milk and do my things. And then you come and mess with me and I'm going to take you down.
Yeah.
I love it. Yes. Okay. If you had 1 hour completely alone, what would you do?
Soak in the bubble bath with a box of chocolates and a book.
Yes. Oh, that's great.
Okay. One thing you pray for your children every day.
I pray that they would grow like Jesus in wisdom and in stature and in favor with God and man.
Okay. So our icebreaker question for today is, what's a life experience that changed your perspective forever? And when I was thinking about this, I was like, forever seems like a really long time, a perspective shift. Mine would probably have to be that I know I've talked about this before, 2017. My husband, he had a mini stroke and they found out that he had a hole in his heart and he had to have surgery. And it was right after our 5th child was born. And I just remember the reality that we're all human and that at any given moment he could be taken away from me. Just changed, like it shifted my whole perspective forever. Like it was terrifying. And at the time I remember feeling so lost, and the peace in my heart that it was just going to be okay was the only thing that kept me going in that moment. So that would be grateful for the people that you have sleeping right next to you every night.
Oh, yeah.
So
For sure. Mine was when I was in college, my 2nd semester, and broke my arm in 6 places and like had to come home from school. I was like invincible up until that point. Like I could do everything. I could do anything. I could, the world was like my oyster. And it was like, that was pretty humbling. That was also the first time that I felt in that moment that I like got the prompting that this is a trial. Like you're supposed to go through this trial for a reason. And I remember being like, whoa, I've never felt that before. You usually don't know that till after or whatever the case may be when you're younger. And so that really changed my perspective because I went from getting freedom for the first time in my life, going to college across the country, away from my family, and then like very quickly being very humbled, and I couldn't do anything on my own, and it was crazy. So that was the first time I was like, okay, now I need to do things with intention, and I'm not invincible, and things can happen at any time, and it's important to know when you're in the trial, sometimes like being open to that and like, okay, what am I supposed to learn through this? And let me learn the lesson quickly so I can get out of it faster. I know you guys know what I'm talking about. So that was mine, which I've talked about before. What about you, Chrystal?
I think the biggest one was my parents were missionaries. And so I grew up in Southeast Asia, and I had the privilege of seeing what life in a different culture can look like. And it really shaped my perspective of gratitude as a person for like the things that we have. I remember one night so specifically, my mom and I were on our way to worship team practice at the church that we were partnering with. And we had to go through a section of the city where there were a lot of people who lived on the streets. And it was late at night, it was dark. And this little boy came up and knocked on the windows of the car begging. And we had learned from being there over a period of time that if you actually give money or if you give a tangible item, these children have to take it back to the adults that are sending them out into the streets to beg. And so they don't get to keep. One of our missionary friends actually gave a little girl a doll, and she was so excited with that doll. And she went back over to the adults that were with her, and the adult stripped the doll away and took it to be able to sell it to get money from it. And so we had to learn early on, you can't give things unless you give something that they can use right there. Otherwise, it won't go for them. And so usually my mom and I would keep candy in our purses to give them a little sweet out the window. So we looked in our purses. We didn't have any sweets or anything to give. And over there, you can't drink tap water. We can't drink tap water. It would make us very sick. And so we would carry a bottle of water with us. And that little boy was pointing to that bottle of water. And so my mom lowered the window and reached out with her water bottle, and he cupped his hands and she poured water in his hands, and he was just drinking and so grateful for just a drink of water. And I walk around my house here and I've got water in my ice maker and running water in my bathroom and toilets that flush and water in my sink and hoses outside. Like, we are so blessed with what we have access to. And that moment really shaped my perspective coming forward of not taking life here for granted for the things that we've been blessed with.
How old were you around that time?
I want to say I was about 14.
Wow.
We made our first trip over when I was 2, and then I was over there until I graduated from high school.
Wow.
But I think that particular night was early teens.
Wow.
That is an incredible experience. Mm-hmm. Very, very cool. Oh, man. All right. So today, it's the month of April, and we are talking about adversity. Our episode today is from trial to testimony and how we can find purpose through the hard things. So our first question that we wanted to talk today is, how can adversity shape our purpose instead of defining our pain? And trigger warning for this episode, there may be things that we talk about that are uncomfortable in regards to miscarriage or loss of life or family. So if you have a sensitivity to that, you may choose to not watch the rest of this episode. Okay, so how can it shape our purpose?
So back when my husband and I got married, I thought I was infertile. I had been told by an OB that I most likely had PCOS and I was going to have some trouble conceiving. And God looked at that and laughed, and we conceived on our honeymoon. And so I had a textbook pregnancy. I had a beautiful baby boy, my 14-year-old. We won the lottery with him. He is just amazing. And so I kind of took it for granted that this was going to be my story. This was going to be my life. And we got pregnant again, and I thought this was just great. Everything was wonderful. And 11 weeks later, I began to spot and found out that I had miscarried. And my husband and I wanted to miscarry naturally. We didn't want to go through any kind of intervention with that. And so I went home, and for 3 days, we just begged God, please let our baby live. Let us have our baby back. And he said no. And it's really hard when God says no, because as humans, I think we're hardwired to look for the purpose in things. And it didn't make sense. You know, we were loving God. We were doing all the right things. And yet here this thing is of, I'm losing my baby. And so that was, I think, the biggest crisis of faith I had ever walked through at that time. And I remember just weeping on the phone with my dad saying, you know, it says in scripture that he forms us in the womb. Did he just get tired of forming my baby? Like, what happened here? And it's really hard to find answers when you go through things like this. But because of that process, if I had never gone through that, I would not have gone through the journey of becoming what we call a birth and bereavement doula, because I went through that process and got through with my faith intact because of my community. And there are so many people that don't have community. They don't have people, women don't have other mothers who will say, hey, I've been through this and it's common. And so from that point, taking that experience and what I had gone through and learning about the importance of having that community, it made me really passionate about building that for others, where I trained that whether it's 2 lines on a test that doesn't come to be, whether it's a stillbirth at 40 weeks or whether it's a healthy full term, I'm there to support you and to let you know that you're not alone in the process. And so for me, that was my journey. It's looking from a lens of, I am your servant, God, and you have a purpose for everything that I walk through. And so if that's the reality for my life, then I'm going to look for how you can use what you've walked me through, and you've been so faithful to walk me through it, to be a blessing for someone else and to be able to use that to be an encouragement for someone else.
Yeah. How did you get, when you were in the middle of that, I know you said you were doing that for 3 days. How did you pull yourself out of it? Because I feel like Megan and I have both had that happen. I think mine was right at 12 weeks.
Mine was too. And I remember feeling like no one talked about it.
Ever.
Ever.
Like in the moment, what to do and what to feel.
Yeah. And you just felt broken and felt sad. And you had questions like, why would this be? Like, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm doing everything I should. Like, you really do wonder.
Well, you also blame yourself. And I don't think nobody talks about that. Like, what did I do that was so wrong? Like, was there a day that I missed a prenatal? Or was there a day that I
did too much?
Yeah. Did I push myself too hard? Whatever the case may be. So when you were in the thick of it and you were talking to your dad and your family, how do you feel like you were able to pull yourself out of it?
It took a really long time. And I think that is the starting point for all of us, is to recognize there's no time limit on grief. Mm-hmm. And because an unborn child, it doesn't really exist for anyone outside of the couple. You know, You feel that baby moving inside of you. You have the sonogram pictures. You're the one going through it. But no one else around you has a picture of that baby or anything that belonged to that baby. It's like when they're gone, nobody else really puts together that they existed.
Yeah.
And that becomes really the hardest part of how do you share this life with someone else. I think that it is very common, because that baby doesn't exist for anyone else, for people to think, okay, well, you should be over it, because they aren't experiencing that loss themselves.
Yeah.
And so
or the like hope of what could have been.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's the hardest part, I think.
And so you have to really be able to find someone in your circle or be firm yourself in holding that boundary of saying, no, this is a real person. Mm-hmm. This is a real future that I'm having to bury. Mm-hmm. And I need to have the ability to sit in this and experience this without saying, let me see if I can forget it as long as possible. And that was one of the reasons I chose to miscarry naturally, as opposed to like go in, have a procedure. And I know so many are not blessed to be able to do that. Right. So many have to have that procedure. I was so blessed in that at that moment when I felt like, okay, we're about to have to go to the hospital because I was bleeding so much.
Yeah.
I went into my bathroom and I just said, okay, God, I will let this go. I feel like you're saying, no, I can't have my baby. And so if that's the case, then I'm asking you to please let me miscarry at home and not have to go in somewhere where that's taken from me.
Which is another trauma.
It really is. Yeah. It really is. Mm-hmm. And 5 minutes later, I delivered her in the bathroom and everything was intact. Everything was whole. It wasn't this trauma.
Yeah.
And so I was able to gain some perspective with that later on of, okay, I didn't get to keep my baby, but he was with me in the process of releasing her. Then from that, we made sure that she was human to us. It wasn't an it. It wasn't a thing that happened. It was, no, this is a child. We've talked to our children about her a lot. Mm-hmm. We named her. Mm-hmm. We call her by name. And then like I said earlier, each of our children, we recite a specific chapter of the Bible over them every single night before bed. Mm-hmm. And we started that with the firstborn, and we had already picked the chapter for her. And so after she passed away, after we lost her, we continued reciting her chapter of the Bible. And so even now, 5 more kids later, we're still quoting her chapter, and her life, as short as it was, is still speaking blessing over the lives of her siblings. Mm. And so finding a way to look at that life and say like, okay, where is the purpose behind this life having existed? How is this life blessing the world around? How is it making a difference in the world that's around me? Even now, even as short as it was, it gives meaning to that baby.
Love that. I think that is a perfect example of how you take it from just something you survived to something you grow from.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that we're supposed to go through these things. You know, I don't know what it is. And it sounds like you took this heartbreaking thing and turned it into like a way to bless other people.
And you can really only get there when you have a perspective of eternity. Mm-hmm. Because that was one of the things I was on the phone with my dad crying about, is just like, I looked at the story of Job, and you look at how he lost everything, and it rankled me. It made me so angry in that moment, looking at his story and realizing all of his children died. And God gave him more children. And I told my dad, I said, that doesn't seem right that God just replaced his children as though that's supposed to make it better.
Yeah.
And my dad brought out this point of, if you look at the story of Job, Job got double everything after his trial, except the number of children. He got 10 children and he lost 10 children. And my dad said, Chrystal, if you look at that story and look at it from the perspective of eternity, Job got double the children. Those children that passed away weren't lost. They were just waiting for him. And so when you look at it from God's perspective, that baby's not lost, it's home, and that one will be yours forever still, it can bring you to the place of, okay, I was able to experience this life for a reason, and therefore there's a reason that I'm walking this journey. That's going to be my reality in eternity. But for now, I need to make it count.
Wow.
That's incredible. Well, and I feel like, so I've thought a lot about this between McKay and Lily in 2013. I lost a baby and I was right at 11 weeks and it was really hard. I didn't understand. I was confused, but I have learned that the pattern that helps me to go from growth instead of just surviving is to just spot God's hand. Like spot the little miracles, and it's a cycle, and I call it the gold cycle with my kids. So the first thing you do is you get on your knees, and we've been there the last few months. I talked about this last week in our episode. Like, we're in a season of struggle right now, and the first thing we do is just fall to our knees. And sometimes we feel that warm reassurance. Sometimes we're just crying and sobbing our hearts out and letting it all come out, because you know you can't do it on your own. The second part of gold is open the scriptures. Like, that is what has helped me. Just open the word. It doesn't matter where. Just find that connection to God and his grace and his goodness, and he will speak to you through those words. And then the L is look for the miracles. And D is do it all over again. Rinse and repeat. Like, it's really a process. People say they're the Sunday school answers, but they're the answers for a reason. And through that, spotting the miracles and just saying, okay, I can see these little things here that add up to this really great witness of why we're having to go through this right now. And I love that you brought up Job, because sometimes I think that's the God we don't want to believe in. We want to see God in his goodness, and he's still good, but that kind of good is really hard to spot when you're in the middle of it, like when you're asking why.
Yeah, and I love that you brought that up, because that was kind of something I was meditating on this week as well, is that we always have to come from a perspective that God is good. And so if it doesn't look good, it's because if it looked good to us, he would be a God that we created. And when we come to his sovereignty and we realize, okay, it doesn't feel good, but we know he's good, so therefore this has to be for my good, it brings things back around into that perspective of, if it's not redeemed yet and it's not good yet, then he's not done. He's still got something he's doing.
I want to talk about coping mechanisms for a second, because I feel like we all three had completely different ways to handle it. And I think it's really important to talk about, because so many people do it different ways. And I feel like you did a really good, from what I know and have heard, of like being in the moment, like being in it and really feeling it and sitting with it and grieving, you know? And Megan, do you want to talk about what you did?
What did you see?
You buried it.
Oh, I did do that.
Deep down.
I did do
that. And wouldn't talk about it.
For years, I did bury it.
She wouldn't talk about it ever.
It was super painful.
Yeah, it is. And I was like thinking about the three different ways I needed answers. And so I sought answers immediately. Because if I couldn't sit there and do nothing, or like I was in it and grieving it, but I also had to know why that made sense to me. Yeah. And I don't think any of those answers are wrong, because it's all in what you can handle. I think, Megan, yours was protecting yourself. Like, it's just how we handle things. Like, what do we need to do for our spirits to deal with what's going on? And none of those are the wrong way. But sometimes I feel like it's so important to know ourselves well enough. So when mine happened, we actually had all of the youth group of our church. My husband was bishop, so he's like sort of the pastor of our ward, our area of church people, and all of the youth were at my house when it happened. And I started spotting a little bit before that, and everybody was downstairs, and I could hear it, and I was just up there like dealing with it on my own. And all of a sudden, my parents came up to our room, and when Adam couldn't be there, like, that's the only thing and only place he wanted to be, but he had these responsibilities. And I remember being like, okay, first off, we are serving harder than we've ever served before. Like, we were sacrificing everything so he could do that and serve people for nothing. And I remember just sitting there alone on my bed and being like, why the timing of this? What is happening? Like, feeling so alone. And when my parents came upstairs, they both sat on the bed with me and cried with me. And I will always remember that. Like, my dad, who was struggling with Parkinson's and who wasn't okay himself, he took that moment, and so did my mom, to just cry with me, to be with me. I don't remember the words that they said, but they prayed with me, and they just held me while I was there until, I mean, it was only 2 hours, and then Adam was with me, but I want to be that for other people. And I think sometimes we are so afraid of what to say, especially in trials that we don't understand or that we've never been through. I think it's so important to just sit with people in their grief. That experience taught me, as my dad has been going through stuff that that scripture comes into my head all the time, mourn with those that mourn. Sometimes it's okay to just sit there and to hold a hand and to cry with them and to be in the emotion. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to try to give words of wisdom. Just cry with people. And I've had several experiences with my dad, actually, that my little sister was talking, and she's like, sometimes I just don't know what to say to make it better. I'm like, you don't need to. No. Sometimes people just need somebody to cry with. And I feel like you probably get that a lot since you've started doing this. Have there been experiences that you've pulled from your grief and everything to help other people?
Very much so. Because you're spot on. So much of what is lost when you lose a baby is the dream of what that life could have been.
Totally.
And so many women who are walking through this, they just need the opportunity and the time to be able to share what that dream was. Mm-hmm. And so when you come into that, the best thing to start asking is, tell me about your baby. Who were they to you? What were they going to be in your life? And then, like you said, just sitting in that space. I remember 2 or 3 days after I miscarried, my husband had taken the day off of work, and I was sitting at the piano. And do you know Rita Springer's song, Worth It All? Mm-hmm. She wrote a song, and it's just over and over. The chorus is, it's going to be worth it all. Mm-hmm. I don't understand your ways, but I will give you my song. I'll give you all of my ways. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm brokenhearted singing at the piano, and my best friend walks in the room, and she doesn't say a word. She just wraps me in her arms, and it's just there. Mm-hmm. And it was a presence in the room with me that made it okay to cry, that it was okay to grieve, and that there was no expectation on me to try to make anybody else feel better, that I was allowed to be in that moment and allow that wash over me until then the Lord brought healing. And I think sometimes we'll go and we'll try to put a Band-Aid over a wound without cleaning it out. And you know, if your child, but if they fall down and they skin their knees, you're not going to just slap a Band-Aid on it before you clean the wound.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so much the grieving process is the bringing out of all that would fester and bring bitterness and anger and stunt us spiritually, so that then when he comes in with his healing oil, it's all cleaned out. And then we can come into that place of, okay, where's the purpose in this? What are you going to use this for? Where are you going with this? And I love what you said with gold, because that's exactly it. We continue to do it over and over and over again until we get to where he's taking us, because it's called the basics for a reason. We go to the basics because they are the basics.
I think the trouble sometimes comes when you are so internal with it. I also think it's really important to say it out loud and to speak to people that you trust.
And that's so hard.
That are spiritual guides for you. You know, like if I had been left alone with my own thoughts, Megan is much more internal and probably internally safe. But if I had been left alone with my own thoughts, I think it would have been something that would have dragged on for so long. But if you can get it out and deal with the emotion and sit in it and talk to people that can get you out of your perspective, like your dad did, talking about scripture, like that's huge. I think it helps you heal and get there quicker. And I just remember, not that I was trying to take a shortcut, but I'm like, how do I heal from this? Because that whole last several years, I'd been doing all of this spiritual energy work too, to heal past wounds in myself that I didn't realize I had been holding on for so long, that was affecting me physically and spiritually. And so going through that process and then having this happen, I remember being like, okay, I know I'm supposed to go through this. How can I get rid of this awful feeling? How can I use it for good and not let it consume me? Because it's so easy to do. And that was the answers I was seeking. I'm like, help me understand so I can let this be something that will take me closer to God instead of further away. Right.
Well, you want it to refine you, not define you.
Totally. Yes.
So I feel like whenever it happened for me, one of the things that made it so difficult was that I was older than everyone. So like none of my siblings had kids.
Yeah.
And so it's like, how do you talk about this without feeling like you're going to give them trauma when they don't understand?
Well, hadn't I been trying for years too?
Yeah.
At that point.
And
this
so
was
it's like
between McKay and Lily.
Between McKay and Lily. So you didn't have Austin yet. But
no, we were like infertile for 5 years trying.
And so it's like, how do you share about that? And I feel like my body physically stopped working like it should because I kept it all repressed. And it's funny. So last fall, I felt inspired to write this book, and I put some of that in there, and releasing all of that, it has been so therapeutic. And I feel right now that my body is changing in ways that it hasn't responded in a decade. And part of that I know is because it's like, okay, God said, write this book. And so I wrote this book, and through that process, it's helped others, but it helped me to just shed all of this stuff and be like, these are the lessons I learned. And I think that it's made my body feel safe again. If that makes sense.
So important. Yes.
It does make sense. Well, and when she showed me this chapter, I remember reading it, and she had just written it, and we were together. And it wasn't until I read that chapter that I even realized that ours had happened at the same time of the pregnancy. You had never even told me that. Mm-hmm. Like it had happened in the same week, the same way. I'm like, Megan, you've never talked about this. Like, this is so healing to share it with people so they know they're not alone, you know?
Yeah. And the things that you feel, they've got to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so if they don't come out, your body's going to hold on to them somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's good to be able to release in the right timing. And there is no defined, this is the right time that it has to happen. It's a
different
journey
for everybody.
And he's so patient with us to lead us and be like, okay, can you give that to me? You want to give that to me now?
Yeah.
Give it to me now.
swear we're going to get to the other side. And he's going to hug me and just shake his head like, oh, I tried so many times to just let
Had to make you write a book.
Was I right or was I right?
Right. Yes. And he'll just pat me on the head. I love you, little one. Oh,
Yes,
you
So
stubborn. You stubborn girl.
It's so
Oh
true.
my goodness. Well, I love that. I love that we have the chance through being a bereavement doula and sharing our stories here that we can help others heal so they know they're not alone. No. There's so much beauty that can be found in the mess of life if we just stop to recognize and try to spot the good. And that is where faith comes into play. If you don't have faith as an anchor, you will be lost.
Yeah, because it's only from that lens of faith that we have that promise of he's going to work it for good. Mm-hmm. And so when we look at it through faith, we are looking for the redemption story. When we don't have faith, it becomes more of a, well, this is my reality and I'm going to label myself by this and this is who I am and I don't have any other identity. And that's where we get kind of stunted and we can't grow beyond the event because we're not able to look for the redemption.
Yeah. I fully appreciate the irony of having this conversation being like 37 weeks pregnant and get that sometimes as we are talking about our life, it's not sometimes, it never looks like we think it's going to look. And the road there, I just remember thinking recently, like what I would look back on this life and think 15 years ago, what would I say to my younger self? And it's all going to work out and it's all going to be for your good. And you don't know the reason for the timing, but the timing is mine. And it will be when the time is right for you and your family, for your body, for your life. I also have PCOS too. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And we talked earlier, would I have planned to be this age having kids? Still no, but I see the wisdom in it and it's changed who I am as a mother. Yeah. It's changed who I am as a person. And it has changed our life in doing that. And did I ever think when we were struggling so hard that we would be about to have our fourth child? Never in a million years. I was grateful if we could have one. You know, we had all these dreams and I think it's all about the Lord knowing. And even if you're struggling and aren't able to have children, even if you are not living the life that you want, maybe you haven't found the person that is your partner in life, like no matter what you're going through, it's all something for our good. It will be for our good and it will be something that is sanctifying us if we let it and look for the lessons like Megan talked about, the gold. If we can find the miracles and be open, I think sometimes being open is the hardest part. Yeah. Not closing ourselves off to what could be and what we're supposed to learn in those experiences.
Yeah, I love what 2 Corinthians talks about where it describes the light momentary afflictions working in us that eternal weight of glory. And so in every situation where it's a season of singleness, whether it's disruption at home, whether it's miscarriage, whether it's loss, where it's infertility or lots of kids, where's the glory, God? Where are you getting glorified from my life? How can I be a better witness for you? How can I be a better servant of you? And beyond that, also, who am I to you? Because we can, like labels, we can try to say, well, I'm this person, I'm that person. If I know who I am to him, and it's about who he says I am, then the other stuff, I don't worry about it so much because I know that he's got the timing for all of that. And it's about following his leadership and opening the doors that he wants open and walking through those.
Mm-hmm. Those doors or windows or back alleys and you're like,
crawl
what,
under
how
things.
did I get here? What happened? It's true. Yeah. And it looks completely different. I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
It's amazing. Well, and so our scripture for this time is Romans 8:28. And this morning as I was studying and thinking about this topic, I was like, okay, I had this phrase from Romans 8:28, which is just the first sentence and not the second. And so when I was looking at it, I wrote them both out because the scripture says, and we know that all things work together for good to them that love God. But the second part that I thought was so profound was to them who are called according to his purpose. And I think that is the key when you're going through these times of struggle, is to just try and recognize his purpose. We're not going to know it, and no one can even begin to comprehend it or guess, but we kind of do.
Yeah.
And that's how it's like, okay, show me your purpose, and he will unfold that to us and allow us to be a part of the refining process.
If we allow it and get out of our own way.
Yeah.
It's that natural man sometimes that takes over.
Yeah, that.
And we all struggle. Like, that's the thing that I wish people knew too. Like, the more you can look at, there's this natural man who is us and our body and who we are. And then there's our spirit. And our spirit is who we truly are. And just because you struggle with things that you're thinking or thoughts in your head or beating yourself up, that doesn't mean that's who you truly are. That is just the fight of that natural man. And if you can overcome that, and like you said, remember who your divine nature truly is, and that you're a daughter of God, and that all of this is his plan and his purpose, and we're all sent here to be tested and to learn and grow and love. And if you can remember who you truly are, it makes all the difference in the world of why, when you ask why or when you're worried. So don't beat yourself up about the doubt or how you grieve or how you talk to yourself. Like, just let all that go and just remember your purpose and truly who you are. Like you said, I feel like this episode should be talking all about letting it refine you rather than define you. I love that you said that, because that is where you have a choice. We don't have a choice of what happens to us. Yeah. Sometimes our choices lead to things happening, but sometimes they don't. And we are meant to experience those things and to grow from them. And then it's our responsibility, I feel like, to help other people.
How do we do that?
How do we do that, Chrystal?
Revelation talks about us overcoming by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So our story, our testimony, is to help someone else overcome. So just talk about it, share it. A lot of the time when we get in our own heads, we begin to believe things that aren't the truth. Mm-hmm. And when we come out and say, well, this is what I'm thinking, we realize I'm not the only one that's ever thought this. There are multiple women who have walked through this, who have thought this. And it minimizes that lie, that deception of the enemy in our minds. And we can be able to move beyond where we are by just sharing and talking like we are today of, hey, this is who I was and this is what I believed. And I feel like I can overcome this because Lindsay did. I feel like I can overcome this because Megan did. You know, we're walking this together and sharing our stories, and someone else can look and say, okay, well, if they can do it, we can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that absolutely going from what you've done and the journey that you've had, and now you're helping other people experience that and teaching them, I think is the coolest part. Like, you are in a position now to be able to help so many people. And I hope the people that are listening have felt and understand that it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to share. It's okay to be open about it, because if it helps in your healing, let somebody else have their life changed because they get to be there with you in your grief. Yeah. You know?
Well, and I think there's power in sharing, because I feel pretty blessed in that I feel like most of my life I was able to learn from the trials of others. So then I in turn don't have to suffer the way that they suffer. Just, it's a different type. Yeah, it's a different type of learning and being taught. And I'm like, the more lessons I can learn that way
and not have to deal with
and
it.
not have to be
glad to walk
right.
Lord.
Totally.
Yes, and just feel that, like, and to share in that way. But it's so messy. it's so messy and it's the ugly side of life that no one wants to talk about. Last week's episode that we recorded about our current struggle right now, it was very hard for me to share all of that, but I felt such an overwhelming sense like the world needs to see this. The world needs to talk about this burden that you're under right now, because we emphasize being real here. This is a real space where we talk about real things that people are dealing with. And to not share felt fake and it felt false. And I just feel I walked away from that being under scrutiny so much of myself. And I'm like, you shared this, but you didn't talk about this, and you didn't write down and have it perfectly curated for whatever. Like, how is this offering worthy enough for what it is? And like, I still don't even really know. Like, I'm afraid to look
and edit
it and just look and see. But it's part of God says, this is the journey that you're called to share right now. And I'm like, okay. And you just do it, because somebody's going to hear something and it's going to help them make it through. And that's the whole point.
And he's the one that gets to judge whether it's worthy or not, right? Like, it's not about us and what we think is worth sharing. It's about him and what he's asking us to share. And he weighs that at the end of it all.
Yeah.
How grateful I am that this little crazy idea that we had a year ago to do this has brought people like you, Chrystal, like to share your story. And I hope so many people hear it and feel less alone, you know?
Well, it's
and
a
hear your,
blessing to be here.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
we're so glad you came. We need to do this again.
Yes, definitely. I want to close with this quote that I loved. Your story could be the survival guide someone else needs. So I want to encourage anyone listening to this to pay attention to the people in your community, because there's somebody around that needs you and the voice that you can be and the healing that you can help. We don't live in a time when Christ is on the earth right now, but we are meant to be his hands and to help his people. And the only way that's going to work is if we kind of lift our heads up from our homes, from our phones, from all the things that distract us, and pay attention to who is around and who needs the gift of sisterhood to help, because that's really the whole point of it. So, all right. Our reflection question for today is, how might God be using my story to bless someone else? So I want you to think about that and maybe include that in your prayer. Wouldn't that be an amazing thing to just say, lead me to who needs my story, Lord, and see who comes into your life? You never know. Never know. You would have never told me that I met my bosom friend Chrystal on TikTok. And
Yeah.
it is crazy. I'm like,
And we're sitting here right now.
it's insane. It's
I
amazing.
would have laughed at you last year. I would.
Right? And it is God led.
It is.
That is the whole thing. Whenever I was like, we should do it this day. And Crystal's like, actually, my husband has that day off work and we can come up. What? What?
Everything comes together for good.
For good. His good.
It's good.
His good. All right. So until next time.
Keep striving, and we'll see y'all soon.
Yes! She nailed it. That was great. Now it's time for the bloopers. That's
I
amazing.
love those words.
See, those were good questions, weren't they?
Yes.
I was like, quick questions. What do
Rapid
I'm like,
fire.
woman of faith.
Yeah.
This is good.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
If I talk with my hands too much, please let me know.
No, you're
I
good.
feel like I'm going to slap them.
So long as it doesn't hit the mic, because when it does, it'll be like thunk, thunk,
Yeah.
thunk.
I
But
don't
other
think I
than
could
that,
carry on a conversation if I had my hands tied behind me.
No, you're good. We get it.
yes, we 100% get it. Okay, we always close and say,
That's what I was going to say. She needs to do it.
yes. So you have to say, keep striving, and we'll see y'all soon.
Okay.
So I say, until next time. And then
Keep striving, and I'll see y'all soon.
Yeah.
in your best Southern accent.
Okay.